Hi, everybody. Welcome to Real Life with Ruth McD. Happy you're here again today. And we are going to be talking today with somebody from my home area overseas in the United Kingdom, specifically Northern Ireland. So to say that I'm a little excited, well, it might be an understatement because he's also family. Roy Stevenson is with us today, whom I have known for decades, but we're not going to talk about exactly how long. That might be a dead giveaway. He's laughing over here. I guess you might be able to see. I'm not sure if he's on your screen yet or not, but we go way back. He married my cousin, and they were barely out of their teens and in their 20s. And we've got a lot of history. So I know the story I knew the first part of the story. I didn't realize the second part until I was able to travel home again after a lot of years back this summer. And what a miraculous story and an encouraging one. So if you have ever tried to lose weight, or you have lost weight, or you've thought about it, or you've given up more times than you can imagine, or you know somebody else that you can let know there is a great God-blessed, God-given story right here. And it's different than probably any you've heard before. This is just radical. And if you want something radical for your weight loss journey, stick around and listen to Roy Stevenson from Northern Ireland. It's really something. It's encouraging, it's detailed, and it is, I'm telling you, it's something that God did for him. No questions asked, no need to worry about what plan, what program, how do I do it, what's the next step. We've got all that covered in the fact that God gave it to him. So we're going to get right into that. Roy, super glad to have you with me today.
Thank you. It's good to see you again, Ruth.
It looks like it might be a little chilly over there.
Yeah, it's getting that way. It's got very cold over this last week. No snow or anything. We maybe won't get any snow, but it has turned very, very cold.
And probably rain, since that is the country of rain, right?
Well, it always rains. Even when it's dry, it's raining.
It's either raining, just got done raining, or getting ready to rain.
That's the one. That's the very one. Yeah.
It's so beautiful over there, and why it's so green. You've probably heard Ireland spoken about as the 40 shades of green. Lots of green.
Well, yes.
I want to chat a little bit with you today about just an incredible story. I remember, of course, when you were dating my cousin and you were married, and, I hadn't seen you since before you'd had kids, which was forever ago. But up until that point, I know that you were a bigger guy. And tell us a little bit about what you looked like and what life looked like back in the day.
Well, I suppose you would have last seen me before you went to live in America. I got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I got to, at my heaviest, I was 28 stone, 5.5 pounds. Now there's 14 pounds in a stone, so that's working out about 397.5 pounds. That's what I weighed at my heaviest. And if you want metric, that's 180 kilos. And it wasn't good. In fact, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. Yeah. And, as I've said to you, you hear people on the TV and on YouTube and on all sorts of media saying that it's great being fat, it's great being overweight, that they're this, that, and the other. And up to a point, I can appreciate that. But there just comes a time, a weight, if you like, where you're an absolute burden to yourself, and it's no longer fun. It just isn't fun anymore. And I don't know, I'll get personal about this now. It got to the point where I could just about manage to take care of my own personal hygiene when I used the toilet. It was that bad, and I had really got myself. I couldn't sleep properly. I don't know if when you get over about 18 stone, you can't lie on your back because your neck closes over
Right.
and you can't breathe. So you have to lie on your side or on your stomach. So that's the way I had to lie. It was usually on my stomach, but at the end I was so fat that I couldn't even lie. Obviously, I couldn't lie flat. It was horrendous. And I'd tried all sorts of things through the doctor. I'd diet pills, all sorts. I could throw the weight I was. I could lose 2 stone. What's that? 28 pounds without any trouble at all. And then somebody would congratulate me on losing a bit of weight, and I would say, "Good, time to celebrate," and the weight would go on, and more would go on with it. Just that old cycle, you know. So I eventually got myself onto a waiting list to have the bariatric surgery done. Now, you'll hear a lot about that.
Let me go back a little bit, Roy. Did you try, other than the 2 stone, did you try other programs? Was it a regular thing that you were trying to lose weight and doing diets and exercising and stuff like that? Or had you not even got to that point? Or not able to get to that point?
Yeah, I had tried before. You see, the problem really was, or the way it all started, this isn't an excuse, it's just a fact. I would have done an awful lot of heavy work with my father, fitting tires, truck tires and all this sort of stuff. So anything that I was eating, I was burning it off. It wasn't a problem. Mm-hmm. And then I got a job working for the civil service for the government, and that was office-based. But I kept eating. And then that's really where it started. And then I stopped smoking, and it was just a vicious circle. Now, look, it's my fault. I'm not blaming anybody. I'm not one of these people that say, "Oh, it's somebody else's fault. Mm-hmm. It's the fast food place because they're serving me." No, I was going in buying stuff like that. I was the one paying for it. It was my fault. Just me. That's me to blame. Mm-hmm. It was gluttony. The Bible talks about gluttony. That's what it was. That's all that it was. And I had tried other things. I don't know if you would remember, there was a fad diet for a while called Herbalife.
Yes.
I tried that. Yeah. Oh, disgusting. No. And that, again, I lost an awful lot of weight in that. But as soon as I stopped it, all the weight came back on, because you don't eat, you're not even eating normally on that. And then, I would try exercise. Now, I would have done an awful lot of exercise when I was younger. And even when I was putting weight on, I was still doing some stuff, weightlifting. That would help. I would have done a lot of cycling at the time. But it just got to the point, especially with the cycling, where I couldn't even have a good on-day bike. I was that big. So yes, I did make effort. I tried. I liked the idea of losing weight, put it that way. And but then to cover that up, I was being flippant about things, and you would get into a shop, and I think at my worst, I was maybe wearing a 5 or a 6XL, and I would go into the shop and say, "Do you have my size?" "No, the biggest we have is that." This is, real men's clothes in here, sort of stupid things like that there to sort of, and I would say things like that, and it was just stupid. It was nonsense. But then it got to the point where I just couldn't go on. I really couldn't go on, and I had got on to the weight. I asked the doctor about bariatric surgery. I got onto the waiting list. I qualified for it because my BMI was so high. It was 53 or 54 or something like that. And I actually got to see the surgeon. And we'd gone through it all, and he had told me that, he explained to me what happened, what I would have to go through. And he told me that he didn't perform it using keyhole surgery, because when people get keyhole surgery, in his experience, it allowed them to play down the seriousness of the surgery that they were going to have. So he did the full open, from chest down to your belly button kind of thing, and opened you right up.
That's massive.
Oh yes. And bariatric surgery, now, what I've noticed this last 6 months or so, they've started to advertise, private companies are now advertising on the television over here for this weight loss surgery. But really, I would say to anybody, if they're listening to this and they're considering such surgery, unless they are actually bedridden and cannot move, and it genuinely is the only thing for them to do, don't do it. Well, I'll explain more about that, but trust God for it.
Let me ask you about that. So the bariatric surgery, do you think that it's more of they're missing a mind change, that they want to go ahead with the surgery, that it's like an easy fix maybe?
Absolutely, because that's what it was for me. It was going to be the panacea to all my ills. This was going to be this great job. And even though it was all explained to me, I think at the time I was so eager to get it done. Now, truly, if you'd have said jump up on the desk there, I'm going to do it with a blunt knife and I'll do it for you now, I would have let him. That's how bad it had got.
You were desperate.
Yeah. And really, when you look into it, and if anybody is considering it, and they genuinely don't have to do it, do all you can to avoid it. Look into it. See what's involved. They put 6 rows of titanium staples across your stomach. They replumb. They cut a few feet of your bowel out to replumb your stomach.
Oh wow! I didn't know that. You can never.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Like it is brittle. Like there is the gastric band, that constricts the stomach, size of the stomach. But you can train yourself to eat around that because your stomach's still, but with this other thing, they're shrinking your stomach down from about the size of a melon to the size of an egg. So you can never really eat properly again. You're on supplements for the rest of your life because there's not enough stomach there to absorb them, and also they're taking out some of the bile as well. So there's not the same absorption.
Wow, that's really major surgery. I didn't realize that.
You cannot drink fizzy drinks after it either, or you get spontaneous eruption. Oh. Like it is that violent. Like it is not. It's not something to do unless you have. And the other thing about it is too, it may not work. It is the mindset thing. It absolutely is. It's like anything else. Yeah. You have to want to do it. It doesn't matter whether it's smoking, drugs, alcohol. You have to want to stop. Right. Really, you have to want to stop. And it was the same for me. And I know that the Lord, all glory goes to Him in this. But at the same time, if I hadn't wanted to do it, it still wouldn't have happened. I don't think, you're not convincing me of anything else. It wouldn't have happened. And I'm glad, I am so glad that I didn't have to have that surgery. Because what had happened was I got on to the waiting list. I was going to say, how does that work out? Because you're there with the doctor scheduling it and everything. Yeah. Well, what had happened was, because we don't have the same health system as you have there, it's the National Health Service. Right. Now, you can get private health care, of course you can, but we don't have that. So National Health Service, and we're paying for that anyway. Like, as you know, there's national insurance. It's not free. It's free at the point of need. You're not going to show up and somebody's going to ask you for your insurance when you go in, but you do pay what they call national insurance. Anyway, so I had to go onto a waiting list, and I was put onto that, and I was assured the surgery would be coming up, and that was fine, and they had kept in touch with me when it was still on schedule. And lo and behold, out of the blue, one day, the surgeon himself phoned me. He phoned me himself, not a secretary, not an analyst. He says, we're going to have to cancel your surgery. I said, why, what's happening? He says, the government have pulled the funding for all bariatric surgery in Northern Ireland for the rest of the, for whatever. He says, but what we will do, and he says, I've got somebody on the operating theatre just now as I'm speaking to you, prepped to go with us, and I'm going to have to stop the surgery. Now, he hadn't started it. But he went,
my goodness. That's British healthcare.
So he wasn't able to, he wasn't able to proceed with it. So anyway, what he did say was that I could go to England, they would send my name across to a waiting list in England, and I would be seen there, and that would all be taken care of. We would have to pay the travel, but everything else would be taken care of over there. So that was all right. So it dragged on and on and on, and I heard absolutely nothing from anybody. because I was told that somebody would be in touch to confirm that this had happened, you see. So I eventually got hold of his secretary after weeks of trying. She told me, give me a number to phone for the people that organised that over here, and they had never even heard of me. They didn't even have my name. So that was that. Now, through all of this, when the couple of one or two consultations that I had with this chap, he had told me that getting this, I would lose at least a stone a month. Okay, so I was in absolute despair with this, and things were just rock bottom with me. And then I tell you, there's another thing, and it's sort of comical now looking back on it. But if I walked into your house and you asked me to sit down, I would have to look and see what chair I thought it was safe for me to sit on.
Yeah.
You know, like, that's funny now. I laugh at that now, because the odd time you would have sat in one and didn't stop, you just kept going.
Well, I guess you didn't get invited back to those houses.
Well, not quickly anyway. So anyway, yeah. So I'd been promised as a stone off a month, and I was absolute despair, and I just cried out to the Lord. I says, Lord, this man has promised me a stone a month. I believe you can give me the same. Now, up to that point, I couldn't get to sleep. I was so tormented by everything that was going on. And as soon as I prayed that, there was a peace came over me and I fell asleep. Mm-hmm. Now, I didn't give it, well, I can't say I didn't give it a second thought. I just left it with the Lord. Mm-hmm. And on I went about my business. Wow. That was in the middle of the week. It was either Tuesday or Wednesday night that happened. The following Sunday, there was a chap by the name of Brian Harvey, and God bless Brian Harvey. He sort of knew me because he had done business with my dad, but I didn't really know him. He knew who I was. I sort of knew who he was, but we didn't really know each other other than that. So more or less a stranger, he walked up to me in church and said, there's a few of us here. There's a men-only Weight Watchers class in Ballyclare. There's a few of the men go to that. Will you come? Or would you like to come with us?
Out of the blue.
Out of the blue. Now, you think about what the courage it took for him to do that. Like, really, it would be difficult enough doing that to somebody you know, speaking like that to somebody that you actually knew well, right. But somebody that you didn't really know at all. And I said, yeah, Brian, yeah. And I said, yeah, Brian, that'll go. I'll go. Well, anyhow, I wasn't able to go that following Tuesday night because I had another arrangement. I think I might have been speaking in a church somewhere or something like that. I can't remember what I was doing. So I couldn't go, but I went the following week and I started going to it. And for the first year, I lost a stone a month.
No way. Yep. Now a stone is, you said 14 pounds?
14 pounds. 14 pounds.
And every month for a year.
Every month for a year, and sometimes a bit more. Sometimes
I mean, that in itself is a miracle, I would say.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know, now, what I went to Weight Watchers. Weight Watchers was the tool or the instrument that was used. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not advertising. Weight Watchers are pulled out of Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. You can only go to it now online. There's no face-to-face classes. Anyway, and I have no connection with them at all, and I'm not advertising them either. But they were the instrument that the Lord used. They really were. And I got that stone a month. And, you know, the way it works, you come up, you have set targets. Say you're 12 weeks out from Christmas, and they would ask around the class, you know, what's your target lost Christmas? And they're all saying, boys, we're half a stone, blah, blah, blah. And and I'm thinking, what am I going to say? And I just says, right, boy, stone a month. So what's that? 3 months? 3 stone. And they would all look at me, hey, boy, he's a big head on him.
I could see somebody now saying, now, we believe in goals, but you have to start small. I can just hear it.
But it got me in when I was doing it. They were just sort of expecting it. In fact, it'd been it might have been the other thing if it hadn't happened, And that's the way it went. Now, the last year I was at it, it took me the year to lose about a stone and a wee bit, and it nearly drove me demented. But again, that's where I had to depend on the Lord, because I wasn't looking at what I could do. It was the end goal, what He could do. Yeah. And people seem to work like that, and I've seen men at this class doing that. They would lose 3-4 stone weight, right? Now that's a decent weight loss, 27, 28, 30 odd pounds. That's decent weight loss. Then they would come in one week and they'd maybe put a pound on and say, this is rubbish, it doesn't work, and go.
No.
And put all the weight back on. You know, and that's not the way it should be. You need to look at the end goal, because we will all get setbacks. Like, you know yourself, the Lord has not promised us an easy ride. In fact, it's the very reverse. Yeah. For His sake, we will face persecution, etc., etc. But it was just a case of trusting Him and holding on. And then, look, I'm not saying, people say to me, was it easy? Right. If I had been doing it myself, I would have been dear knows what weight. I'd have been, truthfully, the realization came to me one night. It was either lose weight or it was going to be the brown box. That was it. That really had got that bad. Yeah. It really had got that bad, the way I was feeling.
Were you feeling physical issues? I mean, were you getting sick? Because I know a lot of times, typically, you can have joint issues, diabetes, breathing problems, heart issues. You know, the list goes on. Did you have any of those when you were at your heaviest?
None.
Wow.
Well, I think I'm starting to feel it now in my knee joints. Right? But I was always reasonably mobile. Yeah. I didn't have any problems with my heart at all. And I had a couple of tests just at the start of losing weight. You know, heart tests, and I spent a couple of nights in hospital hooked up to, for different reasons. It had nothing to do with my heart. It was other similar symptoms. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So there wasn't anything wrong with my heart that way. Not at all.
But you did feel uncomfortable.
Oh, it was more the physical discomfort, the physical inability. And it wasn't even that, Ruth. It was, you know, Wesley's 30 in January. So he's
one of your sons.
He's the eldest fella. He's the eldest son. Like 3 primary school. And I only found out afterwards that the children in the primary school mocked him because I was as fat as I was. Oh. Now, if there's anything that still upsets me about the whole thing, is that the impact that it had on him. Now, my youngest son, Micah, not so much, because I had lost an awful lot of the weight when he was coming up, because there's 5.5 years between them. So there was a bit of a difference in that way. You know, I was able to do more with them. Like, for example, when there was a parents' race at school sports day, I could never participate in that for Wesley, whereas I could for Micah, you know, and that does hurt me. That really does. That's one of the few, that's the biggest regret I think of the whole thing, is just that they were getting abuse, because I can remember getting out of the car on the main street in the town here one day, and this small child was walking up behind me with her dad, her father, and I think it was a wee girl, or no, it was a wee boy, and said, "Daddy, look at the size of that big fat man." Oh. And the father, I could feel him in the back of my neck getting redder and redder. "Shut up," he says. And the wee girl goes, "Daddy, but look at the size of him." Like, sometimes I would be annoyed at that, and other times I would laugh at it. I thought it was funny on this occasion. Shut up. But Daddy, look at the size of him. But it's just an example of the way people see you. Like, people won't generally say, "Hello, fatso," to your face. Right. They won't do that.
But children are very honest, aren't they?
Yes. But adults will do it behind your back. And anyway, like, we all know that. You know, you're describing somebody in work. Who's Roy? Well, they don't say he's the bald-headed man that wears the glasses. He's the fat bloke that sits down. You know, there's all of that sort of thing. Now, look, I'm not naive, and I'm certainly not thin-skinned about it. But all of this was going on, and I suppose
It's building on each other.
Yes, it's sort of the straw that broke the camel's back. But the main thing really was my physical inability, the most not able even to
that's right.
have basic hygiene. And it was,
you're not living life.
No, you're not. No, that's the truth. It was just an existence. It really was an existence. Yeah. And like all through this, I was preaching and all of that sort of stuff. And there was the odd thing that was said to me by people that weren't saved that cut me to the bone, and I knew they were right. And like truly, it was gluttony. That's what it was. There's no nice way of saying it. And people think,
but we try and cover it up though with manners and prettiness and political correctness and all that stuff.
Yes. And the other thing we all
when you go to eat at a church or a social or a Sunday dinner after church or potluck or whatever, churches don't serve the healthiest food. Stretch. No. We're full up of sugar and fats and chemicals and whatever else. Yeah,
that's absolutely right. And then I can remember I used to sing in a quartet for a while, and we were at a service one night in a church, and they had usual thing after tea and sandwiches, sort of thing that you're just talking about there. But this one was quite unusual, and the sandwiches were the least thing on display. Everything was pavlova, the meringue and all of this sort of stuff.
All the desserts.
And this lady, Now, I had started losing a lot of weight, and a fair bit of weight off at this point. But this lady kept coming to me and saying, "Eat something, son, eat something." And I said, "No, I don't." And she was really getting very upset and very stroppy with me that I wasn't eating her. And I said, "Look, I've lost X amount of pounds or X amount of weight. I really don't. It's not that there's anything wrong with it. It's not that I don't eat it. I just don't want to eat it." So she was sort of all right with that. And it was just a case of doing that. And sometimes people would get upset, but you know something, I just got to the stage, if people don't understand and they want to get upset about things, well, there's nothing I can do about that.
Yeah.
You
have to be concerned about what God says rather than what other people are saying.
Yeah.
So you went to the meeting. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, go on ahead, Ruth. Yeah, go on.
I was just saying you went to the meeting and you decided that you were going to lose weight and you started losing weight. Now, is there something particular you did or a few things that you did? How you ate, or did you exercise and move more? Your thinking, how did all that come about?
It was a combination of everything. It's not, okay, to use a new age term and something that I would hate, but it was holistic. Now, I'm using that in its proper sense, right?
Yeah.
I've got my head around the fact that I need to lose weight, and that's what I was going to do. Okay, with the Lord's help, that's what I was going to do. The assurance of the Lord and the confirmation that because of what had happened in the church, the way I was asked, that this was the right thing. I had gone to Weight Watchers. Again, that was the instrument. And I just followed their program. So there was what I ate. But if you're doing it right, Ruth, it's amazing how much you actually can eat.
Yeah.
The problem is that we eat far too much of the wrong stuff. And not enough of the right stuff, because if you eat the right stuff, you can still eat an awful lot and be satisfied, So I was doing that, and then I did start exercising. Now, it started off, it was walking, and that increased, and then I was able to do more. And then to get a bit, it sort of works the way, when you start losing weight, the more you lose, it can become a bit harder to lose it, so you have to increase the output, right? So I then started using an elliptical trailer at home, which I didn't realise at the time that there was a weight limit on, so I managed to destroy it in 4 months. But anyway.
The problems of losing weight, right?
Oh, yeah. See, nobody tells you these things. So, yes, again, if you're going to buy something like that and you are trying to lose weight, check that there's because there probably some of these things will have an upper weight limit on them, and if you're too heavy, you'll just smash it to pieces. So we were sitting one night, and Cheryl said to me, we were talking about what I could do, and I was still walking, and I really enjoyed walking, and Cheryl would have come with me in one thing or another, And Cheryl said, well, if you're wanting to do something else, why don't you get your bike out? As I say, like I used to, and I got, like it was an ancient thing by this time. I thought, aye, I'll give it a go. Well, I went out on the bike and I got the bug again. So I started cycling, and then I got a new bike, and then I got another new bike, and I got a new, really nice new bike a while back there.
Are you getting rid of these bikes because you're breaking them, or it's just an improvement and you're doing better?
No. You don't get rid of them. You can never have too many bikes. You can never have too many bikes.
Spoken like a cyclist.
So I started doing, and that was great. That did help. But just getting out, and it's not. Listen, I'm not a great cyclist. I'm never going to go and win. Like I'm 62 now for a start, but I'm never going to go and win races now. Not a chance.
Yeah.
But I'm overjoyed every time I go out that I can do what I can do.
Mm-hmm. You found something that you love, and when you find something like that, it's easier to do it, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. And there's, your mind gets sharper as well, because when you eat, when you're stuffing yourself with fat, and sugar, probably more so sugar, you're drowsy all the time. Your head's in a sort of a fog. It's like, I think when you eat your Christmas lunch in the middle of the day, what's the first thing everybody does? They get up and they fall asleep.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
So there's all that. Yeah. So you a lot sharper that way, a bit more vigor about doing things as well. So there was, and every now and again you get the treat of going out and buying new clothes because you had to.
Yes.
And even that change, where you lose weight, you wouldn't believe. I reckon that I lost an inch in my height by losing fat off the bottom of my feet. And I had to get a new wedding ring. Yeah.
Wow.
I had to get a new wedding ring. My wedding ring was 7 sizes too big for me.
7?
That was the reduction. 7 sizes it dropped.
That's massive. Just in a finger.
Yes. Yeah.
You're
So that's what I mean. Oh yeah. And it's the external stuff, but and it was great, and the encouragement that I got from everybody, obviously Cheryl, friends, and my family, my brothers, my sisters, but other people as well. Like I can remember, I was walking across to work one morning, and this lady, and I knew her. I can't say that I knew her. Couldn't tell you what you call her, but I said hello to her because we walk past each other every morning, and she stopped me one morning. Says, "Son, are you losing weight?" I says, "I'm." She says, "Will you keep it up because you're looking great?" And boy, that made me feel great. And then I had about 10 stone off, and I met my mate that I'd known since I was about 12 or 13 years old. And he was doing an open air. He was preaching in the open air in Ballyclare, funny enough. And I walked straight towards him, and I knew by the look on his face he hadn't a clue who I was. And it was only when I spoke that he recognised me.
Wow.
But you will like this one. We had met a girl a few times that Cheryl went to school with. I think it was a friend of Cheryl's when she was at school. Anyway, we were coming out to Asda in the supermarket in Ballyclare. Yeah, right. And I could see this girl that I thought I recognised standing across in her car. And she was looking at us and looking at Cheryl and then speaking to her husband, or the man beside her that turned out to be her husband. And I said, "Cheryl, is that your mate?" I can't remember. I think, Donna, I think that was her name. And Cheryl looked, "Yes, it is." She says, "Wait there, I'm going to go over and speak to her." Well, it turned out she was looking at Cheryl because she thought that Cheryl had got rid of me and got her new husband.
That had to make you feel good.
Oh, I laughed hard at that. Cheryl, she was so embarrassed. Cheryl, who's that with you?
Now, how long ago was that, Roy?
Oh, how long ago was that? Maybe 10, 11 years, 12 years.
So you kept it off a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wasn't yesterday. How long did it take you to lose the weight?
2 years.
2 years? How?
Pardon?
I said, wow, that's not long
Oh,
at
wow,
all,
yeah.
really, when you consider the amount of 400 pounds, just
Mm.
about. That's
So
not
I
long
look,
at all.
yeah, at 13 stone off, 182 pounds. That's what I got off.
Boy, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So what does
But
life look like now for you that you've lost all that weight? I mean, it's got to be night and day, surely.
oh yes, yeah. Like I can go into a shop now and buy clothes. You know, whereas
Mhm.
before, now you can buy bigger sizes across here much easier now off the peg. But
Mhm.
when I was the size I was, no. There was a couple of specialist shops in Northern Ireland, and I mean specialist shops, you know, uh,
Mhm.
and either that or online. That was the only place I
Gotcha.
could get clothes,
And you don't
and they
have to
were
be so
always
worried about where you're sitting now.
not at all. No, not at all. I can
All
sit
chairs
down
are
at any
safe.
seat. Yes, I can sit down and not worry about continuing onto the ground or anything like that, and I can run after the grandchildren as well, which is just as well
Seen
because
that?
we're a couple of
Yes.
live wires. Well, you've met them, so yeah. Oh
I've
no,
seen you
it
running
has.
after them for sure.
Oh yeah, you know, and it is hard to describe. It really is hard to describe. It's one of those things. It's you sort of would have to experience it. But
Yeah.
put it like this, you know what it's like when you have a toothache, and people will put off going to the dentist for
Mm-hmm.
as long as they can
Yeah.
manage to put off going to the dentist. And then you go to the dentist, you get the tooth pulled, and you wonder what all the fuss was about, really, and think to yourself, I should
Right.
have done that a long, long time ago. Well, it's
Mm-hmm.
more or less the same thing. But
Yeah.
the one thing that people will say to me, oh, you know, you've great willpower. Now, I have no willpower. I wouldn't
Mm.
have been 28 stone if I had willpower. I had none. It was the
Yeah.
Lord God Himself that did it.
Mm.
And that's one of the things that motivates me. It's probably only it's not the only thing, but it's the main thing that motivates me to keep the weight off. It's the
And I was going to
testimony of
ask
the
you
thing.
about that.
Yeah, yeah, you
Yeah.
know, and it's it really is hard to describe, but it is night and day. And I suppose it's just got normal now because I meet people now, folk that I work with, they don't know me or didn't know me when I was fat, so they really don't have any understanding of what it was like. You know, in fact, a lot of them don't believe me. You know, some of them obviously some of them still do remember that. You know, and
Mm-hmm.
I do appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
But
So
it's very, very hard to. Yeah, go ahead.
when you were you had a certain plan when you were losing weight, you were eating differently, you were exercising. How much of that has continued? I mean, did you do like quote unquote the diet and then you went to more normal or what you were used to? Or have you continued eating the same way as when you lost the weight and exercising pretty much the same way?
Yeah. Well, the diet, yes. The diet, yes. The exercising, I've had a bit of bother with that this last couple of years because I had a wee bit of ill health a couple of years ago, and that has sort of curtailed me a wee bit. But all being well, I'm going to have to get back at it again because I miss doing it for a start. You know, like I haven't turned into a couch potato or anything like that. You know, like I'm still doing bits, but not as much as I would like, not as much as I need to. And then there's been other commitments as well and stuff. Life happens, I suppose, is the way to put it. But the diet bit, it was such a radical change. I wanted to maintain that anyway.
Yeah.
Because
and
in
it's
fact,
not bad.
No, absolutely not. But it actually got to it's actually reached the point that a lot of the stuff, particularly the fatty food that I once would have eaten, I can't even bear the taste of it now. I like the idea of it. You know, like chips, French fries out of the chip shop. Well, you know what we're talking about here.
Good
I would
fish and chips.
Yeah, ate them all day long, every day. But I've no taste for them now at all. Wow. And if Cheryl or the boys would get them there, I'd maybe take a couple of chips, and I've no sooner them eaten them. Wish I hadn't have. The grease builds up. So that has become just the norm, which is a good thing.
Yeah, and we have to talk about two things about your diet. We got to talk about muck, and we got to
Muck.
talk about what you eat before you go to bed. So Cheryl thinks it's terrible. This little dish you make thinks it's terrible, and she calls it muck. And I
Muck,
think
well,
it's absolutely delicious. So tell us
it
what
is.
muck is.
Well, she calls it muck because it's, generally speaking, it looks brown, right? And muck is a word that you would probably call dirt or mud, right? So that's handy enough. But I am a great believer in one pan or one pot for everything. For one reason, it's only one pan or one pot to wash up after you're finished. And to be perfectly honest with you, I would actually eat out of the frying pan if I could get away with it, but I'm not allowed to do that. I did it a couple of times, and apparently it's disgusting, which it isn't, but apparently it is. So, for the sake of my...
You're trying to live your best bachelor life in your married wife's kitchen.
Well, yeah, well, you see, if it wasn't for the telling off, I would just go on ahead and do it, but my ears, no, I can't stick it anymore. But anyway, so yeah, that's basically, it's just whatever I'm eating, throw it into the pan, and the brown bit, it really, I'm not so much, it's
well,
not so bad.
Wait a minute, you got to tell us whatever you're eating.
What's in it? What's in it? Yeah, right, mushrooms, onions, any other sort of vegetable, some sort of a pulse, balotti beans, pinto beans, haricot beans, that sort of a thing. Maybe a bit of chicken. Now, not all at once, by the way. Not all at once. Whatever I'm getting my protein from, that's all that I would use. So see, it could be chicken one night.
One protein.
Yes, or quite a bit, but that would be it. But the rest's all bulk. You see, because a lot
of potatoes, right?
I would no. But again, if I'm going to have those, then you make an allowance somewhere else. The simplest way to look at it, Weight Watchers has the system where you count points. Really, all it is, it's calorie counting. That's all it is, really. Except they have it worked out that you count points instead of having to add up calories and stuff like that. There, that's really all that you're doing. So, and then I would probably have a bit of salad in the bottom of the bowl, and that stuff will go in on it, and I would eat it. That's what muck is.
It's very tasty. Well, a little soy sauce or tamari sauce or something like that.
Yeah, soy sauce. That's what gives it its muck-like appearance.
So tell us that, and it is delicious, and I could eat it multiple times in a week. There's no question about that. So, and tell us what you eat at night, because I was very impressed with after dinner. You didn't eat anything else but this, and that was what you had every night, and it's good for you. Go ahead and tell us what that is.
Oh, was that the yogurt and the fruit? Was that what I was eating? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you see, yogurt, you get a hit of protein from that too.
Aye.
Yeah.
And what about you? Just load up on the fruit too, all kinds of things, right?
I would eat, like fruit. It's okay, but you do have to be careful with fruit because there's a lot of natural occurring sugar in it. So you just have to watch what you're doing. But yeah, that would be it.
That's amazing.
I have started to allow myself a treat every now and again. For a long time, I didn't even allow myself that because I knew rightly if I started that carry on.
Yeah. It's easy to keep going.
The whole thing would fall apart. But thankfully, I'm still all right about everything. Not being able to exercise hasn't done me a lot of good that way. I do need to get a few more pound off. I'm all right. Like I haven't been, ballooned or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I do know that I'm going to have to get back at it. But again, that's
part of life, isn't it?
Yeah, it really started off. It was no fault of my own, and I think part of it, although I'm an awful lot better now, I have to admit I did allow myself to get into a wee bit of a rut with the whole thing because I was so fatigued. I just couldn't do anything. Literally couldn't do anything. So, but that's the way it is. I'll get it sorted out.
Yeah.
I'll get it sorted out. But,
well, what would you say you learned from the Lord? Because obviously it was Him that led you to this, and I mean, you totally put your faith in Him for nearly 400 pounds. That's just incredible to me, and how He moved in different situations to make this all possible. what lessons, I guess I could say, did you learn from him in this whole journey you've been on?
In no particular order of importance, to trust him. What he says he will do. And we learn from what has gone before, but that we still have to learn, because we have experienced something and had a positive, and the Lord has answered your prayers. We're not always very good at believing that the next time something has to be held on for. So there's that. It's a case of, whilst we depend on him, he will do for us. If we start looking at our own strength, it's a bit like Peter getting out of the boat. You know, when he looked at the Lord, everything was grand. When he started looking around him, he went down like a stone. And it's exactly the same. While our eyes are fixed on the Lord, everything's going to be grand. It won't necessarily be easy, but we need to trust him. But the other thing, we need to be honest with ourselves. Really, we do need to be honest with ourselves. Because I was going to say it earlier, I'll say it now. I don't know about you, but it doesn't matter what we are doing, or if we know that we're doing something wrong, or we're doing something that we maybe shouldn't be, or maybe doing something that's not wrong, but the Lord doesn't want us to do. We can always look at somebody else and say, well, at least I'm not as bad as. And even when I was at my heaviest, there was a fellow lived here in Larne, and the last time I was talking to him, he was at least 5 stone heavier than me. So what's that? About 60 or 70 pounds heavier than I was. And I would say, as bad as I was, well, at least I'm not as bad as. I don't know what weight. I think that fella got to. Oh, he was a horrendous. But his brother found him dead one morning. Oh. The weight got to him, you know, and that was that. And unfortunately, as far as I know, he wasn't saved. He wasn't saved. And it's just a case, we need to be honest with ourselves. We need to admit, and not only to ourselves, but also to the Lord. I mean, we need to confess our sin. Overeating is a sin. It's gluttony. But it's not just that, it's everything. You know, and it's wonderful. It is wonderful what will happen when we do that. Because literally, our lives will change. And it'll change for the better. Because the Lord will never do anything that's detrimental to us. He never will do anything that's detrimental to us. But we need to trust him for it and depend entirely upon him. And at every opportunity, testify for what he's done for us. Because we're told that.
That's what it's all about, isn't it?
Indeed it is. So, but...
Well, we've got just a few minutes left. Can you just take a minute and pray for somebody who is watching that's thinking, you know, is there more for me? Can I possibly lose weight? Can I keep it off? I've tried a dozen times, or I'm so far gone. And maybe some of the folks that are watching have got a lot of health issues, and they just think it's the end for them. This is their destiny. Would you just pray for them or give them a word of advice, which either one is fine, but just speak into their lives so that they know that there's more than what they have sitting on right now.
I'll do both.
All right.
If you are listening to this, I do genuinely hope that you'll get something from it. But don't listen to me. Listen to the Lord. The Lord has done this for me, and he can do it for you. Listen, I know that can be a bit of a cliche around churches and stuff. I know that. But it's only when you put your trust entirely in the Lord and hand it all over to him, and more importantly, leave it there with him, that these things can happen. And whether it's weight or some other addiction, because being overweight and overeating is every bit as much of an addiction as a lot of these other things are. And in some ways it's maybe harder because you have to eat. You don't have to smoke. You don't have to drink. You have to eat. And the Lord will help you control it. And he certainly will do that. And he can lift you. I know if you feel down, low, depressed, whatever word you want to apply on, put onto it because you're overweight, because you're immobile, because you're of so many other health difficulties. I know in part where you're coming from. But he did it for me, and I am nothing special, let me tell you. I am nothing special. But he did it for me, and he can do it for you. And if you trust him and call upon him, he will do it for you. And don't worry whether a weight loss program is the instrument that he uses, or it's just the support of a friend in church or the support of a family member to encourage you and to help you and to do all these things. It doesn't matter. Just go with it and it'll happen. And the thing is, keep trusting in him and stick at it. You know, remember, stick with him. So we'll pray now. And I trust that anybody here is listening to this, please be encouraged, but look to the Lord. Really look to the Lord. Our Father, I thank you for all that you've done for me, for the faithfulness of your servant Brian Harvey when he spoke to me. And Lord, if there's anyone listening here that's even has it in their heart to speak to a friend or someone in the church that they're concerned about for whatever it may be, Lord, may you give them the strength to go and do it, to encourage them, to lift them up, even to just go and say, well done, I'm praying for you, that everything will be a success, that you'll go through with this thing. But Lord, if there's anyone here dealing with being overweight at this time, may they see the reality of their situation, and may they understand that the only one that can truly help them is you, their Saviour, Father, and may they do it for thy glory. Lord, it is not your desire that anyone should bring any discredit or shame upon your name. And Father, let us all understand that. Lord, may we live our lives for you and to bring only glory to you. Lord, I pray that if there's a brother and sister or anyone else listening to this, what I have said, Lord, and what you've said, Father, that they will turn to you. They will call upon you even now where they are, and that they would set on a journey that will just take hold of you, and Lord, get the freedom that they long for from whatever's holding them back. Lord, it is only you and you alone that can do these things. We have no strength in ourselves, absolutely none. Father, only you can do it. And I pray in Jesus' name that there will be those listening to this that will call upon you even now and reach out and allow you to do a work in their life that will change them for the rest of their lives and bring glory to you. And we ask these things through the name of Jesus Christ. Amen and amen.
Amen. Amen. Well, Roy, if someone wants to get in touch with you, do you have an email that they can reach you by?
Yeah, it's Halius@sky.com. HALIEUS@sky.com.
Cool. Well, it has been so good to have you on the show today. Your testimony has just really moved me. I heard it for the first time, at least the second part, I heard for the first time this summer, and it's just as powerful hearing it back then as it was today. And I truly pray that people will be touched, they'll be encouraged, and not just that, but it will cause them to change their ways and really seek the Lord and his ways and really stay connected with him as they walk through this, because obviously God is capable. We know he's capable of doing something special, changing lives and really redeeming what has gone on in our past, whether it's various different things, of course, but also the weight loss. So thank you so much for sharing your story. It's been tremendous.
Thank you, Ruth, and thank you for the opportunity to share it. It's very, very much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. I just want to share a couple of verses with you all as we're getting ready to go off the air here. But one of them is 1 Corinthians 10:31. Whatever you eat or drink or whatever you do, do all to the glory of God. And some of these verses, y'all who are on a weight loss journey, you need to grab hold of these and meditate on them and just make them part of your life. Have them on little cards in your purse or your wallet in your pocket. Have them on the refrigerator or the mirror, and just go over them and mull and mutter, as they used to say, over these verses and meditate on them and let them become part of you. present your body as a living sacrifice. And I'm sure Roy can attest, it felt like that at times in Romans 12:1. Do you have a verse just right on? I know I'm putting you on the spot. Do you have a verse right off your head as we get off the air here?
No, no, I don't. Sorry, I don't have anything off the top of my head other than, well, cast all your cares upon him. There, that one will do.
For he cares for you.
It's the best thing any of us can do. For he cares for you. Yes, indeed. Yes,
and
indeed.
A lot of overeaters, that's a problem for them, is they pull all those cares and they have to do something with them, and so they eat their cares away, they think. So that is a great verse for that. But
I remember saying to a woman one day, she said, I only eat when I've got troubles. And she said, well, son, you must have an awful lot of trouble.
On that note, we're out of here. Thanks again, Roy.
Exactly.
God bless.
Okay, Ruth. Thank you.